So if I wanted to order a new mic stand so I could have a matching mic stand, it'd be helpful to have a yardstick to measure how big this one is so I could get one the same size. If I wanted to get a new rug for this room, however, I could measure it with this yardstick, but it'd be much more convenient to use measuring tape. On the other hand, if I wanted to measure the breadth of one of my hairs, a yardstick measuring tape wouldn't be very helpful. In my case, I'd need maybe electron microscope. Actually, with electron microscope, you can measure, these days you can measure cells, you can measure atoms, I'm told. You can measure an individual atom with the right tool. On the other hand, how do you measure the distance between you and a loved one who is mad at you? How do you measure the distance between you and a loved one who is very deeply in love with you and you with her, but she's on the other side of the ocean? How do you measure the distance between the you who is here standing in your shoes and the you that you wish you would be when you lost weight or had more money or had a better job? How do you measure the distance between the you who you are now and the you who you were when you were younger and more energetic? I don't know, I'm just asking questions. But in the spirit of asking questions, if I wanted to measure time, I could look at the clock. I can tell, for instance, I've only got, 5, maybe 10 more minutes. I'd love to talk for another hour on the subject of time and space and the time-space continuum and the notion that if I want to measure time, I've got clocks, or if I want to measure nanoseconds, I've got nanosecondometers. I don't know what they're called technically, but you can measure nanoseconds now. And somehow, somebody somewhere measured the distance between Earth and that asteroid that was hurtling through space and sent a rocket chasing it for how many years? And they connected with each other. It's sort of like finding a needle in a haystack on the top of the Himalayas by remote control. How did they do that? How did they measure that distance 10 years in advance? We can measure time wonderfully until you've tried to measure the time it's been since you last saw your dad alive. Which in one moment can seem like decades, and in other moments can seem like he's right here. The time-space continuum is very helpful for some things, for landing rockets on the moon, for making train schedules, for measuring microphone stands. It's not so helpful dealing with our feelings. Much less the sense of trying to measure how far we've come. How far have I come? As a singer-songwriter, well, I can play my old CDs from 20 years ago and cringe a little bit. On the one hand. On the other hand, I can also listen to them and think, I've really learned how to get the guitar around the guitar neck a little bit better. If I listen to the CD that I just made last year, I can also cringe a little bit if I want to, if I want to beat myself up. Or I can see, the production values between 1986 and 2013 really changed a lot. But again, those are physical measurements. Even though it's subjective, I've got 2 CDs I can listen to side by side and compare them. But when I compare the man who's sitting here now and looking at his wife across the room with love and gratitude for 35 years spent together, I can't even begin to imagine who I was 35 years ago. I can hope about who I will be next year or tomorrow. But at this moment, I can only be where I am and let go of my measurements. I tell you all of this is a long way around introducing the 4-step of the 4-step process that I've been talking about for the last 3 weeks. The idea that when I'm confronted with something that's less than joyful in my life, whether it's an inner emotion or a relationship with a parent or my bank account, whatever it is that's, quote, troubling me out there in the world, if I see it and think that there's something less than perfect, that I'm somehow challenged by it, I can do anything I want, but I personally have applied a 4-step process that I've been using for 30 years. And the 4-step process, first, simply to be aware of what is. I think there's a situation here that's less than perfect. I would like it to be otherwise. I'm aware of that. Oh, I've got these feelings again about it's less than perfect. I'm less than perfect. She's less than perfect. It's less than perfect. Aware. The second step is to simply accept it. Oh, here I am again. I think she's less than perfect. I'm less than perfect. It's less than perfect. I need to change it. But I'm just aware of it, and I accept it just the way it is. And I feel grateful for it because it's a lesson. It's in my life. She keeps appearing as less than perfect. I keep appearing as less than perfect because there's something for me to learn. I'm grateful. I'm not mad at myself, kicking myself, wishing that the Lord would save me from myself, but simply being, I see it. Here it is again. I accept it. I'm even grateful for it. I'm grateful for her. I'm grateful for me. I'm grateful for the situation coming up in my consciousness again because I'm a person of faith, and I know that I can take the third step. I have the freedom of choice to choose to take the third step, which is to align with the divine. And what does that mean? I don't know what it means for you. But I know what it can mean for me and what it has meant for countless of others over eons. And that is to just remember that there is something bigger than me. Call it Lloyd, or call it the goddess, call it the Buddha, call it the void. But just remember that there's something bigger than me and align with it. Just open up to it. Hold up that fear and that frustration, whatever it is about the mitigating circumstance that's bothering me. Let's just call it the wet towel on the bathroom floor again. I didn't put it there. Who put the wet towel on the bathroom floor? Okay, it's just a towel, but suddenly I'm plugged in. What do? Oh, I'm plugged in about the towel on the bathroom floor. The second step, I'm plugged in. It's okay. It's not about the towel. It's not about who put it there, Mateo. It's about me and my reaction to the towel. Coming out of my childhood, when I got beaten with a belt for leaving a towel on the wet floor. True story. Once. I'm a quick learner in some instances. But the feeling about that belt stays. 62 years later, I feel it. And when I see that towel on the floor, a bunch of stuff comes up, and it's got nothing to do with the towel, right? And as long as I keep worrying about the towel or who put it there, I'm the victim of a wet towel. But if I say, oh, here I am again, and I simply accept it, and I'm aware of it and say, thank you for reminding me that there's more than wet towels in the world. And instead of trying to figure out some positive spin on it or try to love my son for putting a towel on the floor, no, it's got nothing to do with the towel, got nothing to do with the sun. It's me opening to something bigger than me, bigger than the towel, bigger than life itself. And that, for me, that's a sense of an indwelling Christ. That happens to be the term I put to it. I have a long-standing relationship with an indwelling Christ, which is total mystery to me. And I seldom even use that word, much less in Celebration Circle. But today I will. I come to you, brothers and sisters, with a confession. I believe in Christ. And I believe I am the Christ. And I believe you are the Christ. And I believe you are the Christ. And as the Christ expresses in you, expresses in me, expresses not just an idea of who or what or how it might be, but just let it be. Actually, I seldom use the word Christ anymore. I use a purpose statement. My purpose statement is, I'm here to experience and express. Excuse me for this second. purpose is to express the free flow of Spirit now. See, because as long as I use the word Christ, there's still childhood stuff left from very uncomfortable churchhood pews and stuff. So I've defined it as that. For myself, I experience Spirit in kind of the way that I do Qigong. I feel it as a presence going through my body down into the ground. That's what I do when I align with the divine. Now, for somebody else, it might be using mandala beads or using rosary beads or turning and facing an image of the Buddha on the wall. For a Zen Buddhist, it's to sit in absolute silence. The what doesn't matter. The more I study the world religions, the more I'm very clear. The what doesn't matter. The how matters. And the how is a feeling of just opening to something bigger than me and opening to it. Again, I use a purpose statement. You might use the Lord's Prayer or mandala beads. But doing it and really feeling that you've turned over the wet towel. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't asking Lloyd to take away my problems, to heal my son so he doesn't throw towels on the floor anymore. No. It's about me, trusting that there's something more in life that I don't know what's going on. I don't know the fullness of why I'm plugged in by this towel. I don't know the fullness of why my knee is hurting or why the celebration circle is $8,000 in the red this year. Why? I don't understand it for the life of me. This is the coolest thing I've ever experienced in my life. This community, the way we meet, I've had any number of people come through and say, this is the coolest thing ever. Celebration Circle is such a wonderful spiritual community. We're having a great time. Yay! And we're $8,000 in the red this year. How'd that happen? I don't know. But if I try to figure out that or the towel, I can make my head go boom. Or I can just accept it. Be grateful for it. Aware and accept, be grateful. Trust. My purpose is to experience and express the free flow of Spirit. It's not to worry about the budget. That's not my problem. And then a fourth step. All of this is still just introduction for the fourth step. Here's the big pitch. Allow it to be fine just the way it is. And sit in peace for as long as you can manage. Which for me is usually about a second and a half. Sometimes on a good day it can be a minute and a half. On a really good day, I can chill for a good long time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Wow. And you say, oh, yeah, right, Rudy. You're going to spend 20 minutes looking at a dirty towel and getting to peace with it and turning it over to your inner Christ purpose self and get grounded and then you just hang out in peace for 20 minutes? I said, that's on a good day. But here's the thing. If it's a second or a nanosecond or 20 seconds or 20 minutes, doesn't matter because you cannot measure it. It is beyond the time-space continuum as I go into that place of peace. If it's only for half a second, it's a half a second more than I had, but more than that, in the eternity, which is Kairos time, Christ time, Spirit time, miracles happen. They've happened in my life. I've seen it happen in the lives of many, many people. Some of them sitting in this room. And this allowing, I don't have to talk much about because you already know how to do it. It's what you love best, really. It's what happens to you in your sweetest dreams. It's what happens to you on the sunniest day at the beach when you're just sitting and chilling and thinking about nothing. It's what happens to you when you're in the arms of your loved one or holding your grandbaby. The trick is to stay in that place of allowing while in the presence of the wet towel, or while looking at the balance sheet of the budget, or while looking across the desk at your boss who's got that grouchy face, or the teenager who's got that other face. And I keep going on about my teenager. I want to clarify right now. Mateo has thrown the towel on the floor exactly no times in his life. He's let it drop maybe once or twice when it just kind of fell off the rack. That whole thing about the towel is my stuff. Once upon a time, long, long ago, far, far away, or maybe not that long ago, in a place much closer than you might imagine, there was this teenage girl sitting in the kitchen talking to her mom about how tough she was having it in school. Algebra teachers giving her grief. Algebra's hard. I'm not that good with math. They're going to make me retest it. Plus, there's this guy sitting 2 rows behind me, and he's really cute. I got a crush on him, but he doesn't pay attention to me at all. I'm having a hard time in algebra, Mom. Meantime, Mom takes out ingredients to make cake. And she says to her daughter, would you like cake for a snack? Oh, yeah, Mom, I love your cakes. So Mom says, well, here, have some flour. Daughter goes, whoa, flour, what? Oh, here, have a cup of cooking oil. Cooking oil? Cooking oil is gross. What do you want? Oh, have some baking soda. Baking soda? Why would I want baking soda? That's gross. Yes, said Mom to daughter, taken separately, all the ingredients are gross, but mixed together, they make the sweetest thing imaginable. When I look at the ingredients of my life, at the wet towel, at the budget, at the sore back, at the thinning hair, I can get really upset. But if I look at just at being aware and accepting and aligning with the divine and giving any of my ingredients over, a mighty, mighty fine cake gets baked and served with every breath, every moment, every day. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.